Hello and welcome to Chapter 101 of the DC Alliance podcast. With me, as always, is Clay. Clay, how are you doing this evening?
I am feeling a little toasty, man. As you saw right before recording this, I did just record Star Wars Alliance and tried out my jalapeno vodka for the very first time. I am 4 shots in. I'm feeling a little loose, not too over the edge, because, like I told you right before we started recording here, I'm having a chaser, is what they call it, of pickle juice, which actually keeps me not so drunk. So it's a very interesting thing to do, but I actually really like pickle juice. So it's no skin off my bones. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. We got a cool, interesting episode of Superman and Lois to talk about. I Not much but else besides that, to be honest with you. I'm knee deep in school. I have midterms and they're terrible. We were talking off air. I did a recording for superhero discussions and the audio is not good. So I'm going to re-record that, but that's not going to happen until Friday afternoon. So listeners, superhero discussions will be out, but it will be this weekend. I think I earned a little bit of credit with the listeners. I've released some double episodes for weeks and that sometimes. So cut me a little slack here. I'd rather do a new episode than put out audio quality that's not good or not like it normally is. So apologies there, real life, new dog, all that fun jazz and tests. So it will be out by the weekend. Don't worry about
Yes, and of course, before we jump into this episode of Superman and Lois, man, just to think, this episode was almost our 100th episode, but thankfully,
we did
because
some
of my
maneuvering.
horrible week last week, we were able to just move things around, and we have a better looking episode 101 here today with Superman and Lois. But before we do all of that, let's go ahead and jump into our network plugs. Remember, guys, DC Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. What that means is that we have a slew of shows with a whole bunch of co hosts that is on a weekly and bi weekly schedule. So, on our bi weekly schedule, we have 4 shows: A Slice of Film, World's Finest True Believers, Ranger Alliance, and a walk through the multiverse. Of course, Slice of Film is coming back on April 3rd with a introduction to its new co-host. So that's going to be very fun to listen to. Looking very much forward to that. World's Finest True Believers actually came out this week with myself and Chris talking about the book called The Magic Order. The way I pitched that book is think of Harry Potter meets The Sopranos. So it's a very interesting, very mature book. So go check that book out and then go check out our review. Some fun facts about all of that. Really great discussion about it overall. And then a walk through the multiverse. Joe actually had an episode talking about uh, the Legends of Vox Machina, which is a Twitch show that has a slew of voice actors that just for fun play D&D, and that show got turned into an actual animated show that Amazon owns, and it was just a lot of fun to watch that show and to talk about it with a lot of other different D&D nerds as well. So go listen to that review as well. And then on our weekly schedule is DC Alliance, this show here, superhero discussions, Star Wars Alliance, and Marvel Alliance. Me and Katie just had a very opinionated filled episode of Star Wars Alliance talking about the news of Deborah Chow's original idea for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. That is going to, of course, be dropping the same day as this. So it's going to be very interesting to hear all of that. So go listen to that immediately after this, or maybe you already listened to it today. So there is that. Marvel Alliance has a lot of stuff that is going to be discussed with Miss Marvel, the trailer that dropped. So go and anticipate their episode coming out, of course, on Friday. Now, This is a listener supported network as well as a ad supported network, so you will get ads. We don't choose the ads. We don't choose how many times they repeat themselves, and we don't choose the volume. Also, I'm starting to slur my mouth a little bit, so I guess the vodka is actually working, which is
Maybe
really
I
really
should have
nice.
done the network
Well,
plugs,
I'm
but
just gonna.
we're past it. We're past that now.
We're
We're past
past
that
it. We're
point.
past it. We're past it. Exactly. So if you don't want to hear these ads, of course, you can always join our Patreon. Of course, $1 tier is just to say thank you, but the $5 tier is what gives you that exclusive content as well as the ad-free episodes. So maybe go take a peek at that. I always leave a link in the description down below, as well as where you can find us on social media. All the previous episodes in the GUA network. If you haven't noticed, I have been working a lot on that. So go check out those show notes. And then uh all the main shows, Star Wars Alliance, DC Alliance, and Marvel Alliance, all have their own solo feeds. So go check that out separately if you wish to do so. Now, with that, I believe that is everything. I am okay. I'm drinking on my
Nailed
pickle
it.
juice here. Let's go ahead and jump into this episode of Superman and Lois. Hines.
Season 2, episode 7, Antihero.
Yes. So what well I actually live. I'm gonna say this live. We actually got a question live
Yeah,
on the air.
I was going to ignore that, to be honest with you, because it was odd.
Well, I think it has. Well, we'll address the question after we talk about a little into the episode because there is one thing in this episode that I do not like. And it's a continuous thing. And I know listeners who are familiar with my opinions on this series probably already know what I'm going to talk about. But let's go ahead and move forward. Um, in this episode, our main talking points here, of course, Lieutenant Asshole, uh, the XK inhaler, and of course, the what would you say the third point is? The stuff with Lana
Jonathan.
Lang or
Jonathan
well,
as well.
Jonathan. Well, XK is what I really was what I was talking about. The XK and
Yeah.
John, and then the small tidbits of Lana Lang that I feel honestly is kind of forced into this episode. It's kind of it's more along the lines of like, hey, don't forget about this storyline. So we're gonna throw this in here. I didn't really feel like it was much. Let's go ahead and start there because it's kind of a
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
subject. So we'll
I
talk
like
about it
that you
very
went this way.
briefly.
Yeah.
Um, so I felt that there is a very particular scene in this episode. I just got finished watching it before I recorded Star Wars Alliance tonight. There was a particular scene where Lana is talking to Lois and they're talking about their kids and how like they're growing so fast, you know, this whole thing with like drug use and everything. It's starting to be a really big problem in the sense of like, man, should we have expected this kind of thing from our kids? And then it quickly turned into Lana, you're a good mother, and the city doesn't know what they got with you. And I'm just like, those two subjects, not related whatsoever. I don't know how you made the connection there, Lois, but it felt forced. What'd you think?
Yeah, and I just wonder, would she make that would she say that to her if she heard what the advice that Lana gave her daughter when it came to dealing with her son, Lois' son, because it wasn't exactly kind of warm. It was like, yeah, dumb his ass, he doesn't deserve you, kind of deal. So, and also, I had my hand up because what struck me was, have we seen any scenes before this of just the two of them like sitting down having coffee or tea or talking, like, or was it like this was like kind of out of left field for me? Like, I know that we're living in
I
a Superman world where
believe
everybody's best friends, but
I believe in the first season, Lois had a lot of conversations with Lana because of her connection
with more,
to
yeah, too,
Morgan Edge and all
yeah,
of that and how that
yeah. Now that I
storyline
think
went
about it,
down.
yeah, but no, like bonding together like
But
this.
bonding and being the what's the word? the good parents,
Yeah.
the struggling parents and trying to connect in that kind of situation. I don't think we have seen it yet. So seeing it here, I understand what they're going for. I don't necessarily see it as like because then you have the big thing at the very end, right? When they are all at the diner, the mayor is kind of very obviously talking about Lana without talking about Lana.
Being the
And
jackass.
yeah, and then she
Yeah.
comes up and she's like, well, at least I'm honest and the people know me. Do you think it's very family like for you to be going after quote unquote one of your own? And like, of course, that's when all the people start to like gasp and look at each other and like, oh, I think she's right. It, I, again,
Yeah, it was over the top, Clay. Like I
it,
didn't
it
need to
was,
see the guy drinking his coffee that stereotypical every rural town way look throwing away the thing and being disgusted. Like, come on, like he really wouldn't stop supporting that guy. Like, what, because of that, what we doing here? And what's frustrating about it is I wouldn't hate this route, but you know, and I know we're gonna have to listen to this again when we get into the debates. And what I would have liked is for her to just do this at a debate. And if you, I don't care about Lana being like, I don't hate Lana being mayor. I don't say I don't want to care. Like, I like that she's going to have something else now after what happened with her. She's been trying to find something. We saw that last season and now into this. And I think she could be really good for the job. It's just, I don't need to see her bash this giant asshole multiple times and then see it again in the speech, like in the debate. Like, you could have just did it there and had that same reaction with the crowd. You didn't have to have people like throwing away pamphlets and stuff. You would have that one thing I would have bought that you would have beat him in an election. You don't have to go through this storyline of dragging us through. Will he go after your kid? Won't he? He never even went after their kid. They speculated that he was going to go after the kid, but he never. So it's just
yeah.
like, how bad is
And
he
I,
really?
and I, and I think the reason behind it is other than it just being a CW show and, the stereotypes of what comes with that, I think that the writers of this show feel like they need a like Superman universe storyline as well as like a real world storyline, and where they like meet up and stuff they can happen throughout the season and whatnot. Unfortunately, I don't think Lana or Sarah's story or even Kyle's story is very important to me because it's not really in that Superman universe.
Well,
Like,
I'll say there that if she becomes mayor, she could have some dealings with him, especially if there's like a problem in Smallville again, and that would
yes,
be okay. Like, we're okay with that. We're just, I think you wouldn't be as out on that if it just wasn't as dragged out as it is. Like, we haven't even had a debate yet, Clay, or anything with votes or any ads, nothing. This has been just like, this is the first time that and we've heard about this all season. All
yeah,
season. So
yeah.
that's what's frustrating to me. We don't hate the decision to make her mayor, God no, because you may put her in line with Superman, and she may potentially like figure out that he's Clark. And I'd enjoy that kind of story.
Because what is this? This is episode 7
7, yes.
with a season that usually has anywhere from
I think
13 to
15.
15
I think 15.
15 episodes, right? I thought that this episode may have a total of 16. I may be
It could
wrong
be,
on that,
could be.
but like if next episode is like the mid-season finale, definitely doesn't feel like it. Like it doesn't feel like we're leading up to anything like that so far. But that can kind of lead us into some of the bigger topics of this episode. So where we left off, Superman was captured, taken into government custody, and put in the same cell as his brother, who is, of course, Morgan Edge. This is the topic that I was talking about. I don't like the additional mythos of, and of course, again, I understand this is CW, they can do whatever they want
They
with the
usually do.
Superman story. And because they need something to separate them from everybody else, right? They need something to add that makes them unique to that of Man of Steel, to that of Smallville, to that of anything. So I understand, excuse me, where they're coming from. I just don't care or don't like that Morgan Edge is a Kryptonian that is also Superman's brother. I've never really liked that. And I've said that last season. And so, like, I did like how when he woke up, they started talking, and Anderson was like, "Oh, well, if I can't get to you, I'll just torture your brother and get the answers out of you that way." And then Morgan Edge was like, "Oh, well, I know all of your family secrets, so maybe I can pay my way that way." That that I like. That shows there being a stake in the game. That shows them actually like, oh, something ultimately bad can happen out of this scenario. Of course, nothing really happens from it, but just planting that seed, I really did enjoy.
I gotta say, Clay, for me personally, I stopped thinking of him as Morgan Edge the immediate second he revealed himself to be Superman's bro. I haven't even thought about him as Morgan Edge since that point. I promise. Like I see Superman's brother. That's the first thing I see now. That's the face I associate with Superman's brother. So I have not thought about him as Morgan Edge in so long. So that is not a problem for me. I'm thankful because I think that would drive me insane. Think about that sometimes. Just being like, honestly, I don't know why it is. I don't normally something would stick with me, but that doesn't bother me. I really enjoyed a lot of the brother stuff here. I don't know if it's because we go from like Lana's story to this story. Maybe it heightens this a little bit for me. But like you said, I love the implication that he would sell his brother down the river because I honestly like if he's pure evil, which we found out in the first season he's not because he wanted his brother to join him and be with him um, because he was felt like he was robbed of that by his father,
Yeah.
Cal Rose. So I feel like has some complexities. I know that thing of looking at him and seeing Morgan Edge would be rather annoying, especially when you're getting some emotional Superman and his brother moments, and you're like, okay, you're talking Morgan Edge here, dude. Like, it's so hard for you not to see that when they planted that for so long. But I really enjoyed the back and forth with the brothers. Like you said, the implication that he was going to sell Superman then Clark down the river, like of his sons and his wife, and they all know about it and all that. But he does a couple of redemptive things that make me think. First of all, you don't have a chance to survive seasons in. Like you don't have a chance. Your sacrifice is coming strong and fast for him. Like he's not surviving the season. Um, I just love the back and forth with them and him pleading with not pleading, but his back and forth with Anderson as well, not Superman's, his brothers, and him like
Yeah.
wondering, maybe should I tell him what will he get me out of here? I wonder. I bet you if
Yeah.
he should have went the more route of I'll work for you kind of deal.
Yeah.
I think that might have worked because we'll see that later. We got to talk about Anderson Clay because he full on
So
goes off
the
the deep end here.
I see what they did with Bizarro going to the fortress, leaving that helmet there to then now having the US government. Because one of the big things is Superman does tell the location of a fortress, but doesn't tell them the location of the fortress of which Bizarro is actually at, because
Yeah,
currently Bizarro is at uh
Talrose.
Talrose fortress and not Superman's. So when he gets video confirmation that Bizarro's suit is there, he's like, Superman's been working him with him the entire time. Oh, he's been lying to me, blah 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 blah. And then he goes off,
Well,
you
the
know,
girls there, like, how do you know that, sir? Oh, you gotta know that, like, man. I'm like, okay, dude. Like, how did you get so high in the army? Like, you're not even stopping to analyze this for 5 seconds here. You're just full on. Give me the
knee
superpowers.
jerk, yeah, knee
Now,
jerk
I will
reactions.
say this reminded me so much of a Justice League Unlimited episode where I think the General Eiling takes uh, some of the like experimental formula to turn into like a badass and fight like he wants Superman. He wants to set an example for Superman in the middle of this. He ends up fighting all kinds of C and D tier heroes alongside Green Arrow the funny thing is the last two people to watch Tower buzz in is some the cowboy shooting like on the horse. I can't remember his name, and
Uh-huh.
his former sidekick Speedy. So it reminded me of that, where the general, not thinking at all, it just goes off the deep end, and he gives me so many vibes of that same Island character from Justice League Unlimited, just in terms of not trusting Soups and then turning himself into I don't even know
Oh,
why.
that's funny. That is absolutely hilarious. I just looked up that episode of Justice League Unlimited. The actual character, if you look at General Eiling, literally looks like freaking J.K. Simmons in Spider-Man.
Yeah,
And then I see who voices Eiling. It's J.K. Simmons.
they made him look
J.K.
like that, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so cool too. Like the first time the lasting memory for me of him in that universe is Batman dropping into the headquarters of like Amanda Waller. He's there. He runs over to say something to Batman, and Batman just gives him the right hook and sends it flying into the corner. It's just I was like, oh my god, yes. But yeah, it's what it reminded me of. He goes out deep end, like you said. He's not thinking straight, but also I will say this to go with that. That would make a bit sense for me is the fact that the last two episodes, his superiors have been laying into him, saying like, "You got to find out what's going on here. You got to
So
find the person who killed him."
they specifically say in the recap, by any means necessary. Here's the problem that I have with that. The US government has always had a good standing with Superman.
She says that too, Clay. His superior says, in a matter of like, we had no issues for 13 years when General Lane was dealing with this, and now in a matter of 3 months, you've managed to completely ruin the United States' best defense system.
And I understand dramatic irony, like you need to have like the big conflict for the show. But in reality, if this were to go down, Lieutenant Anderson would have been fired so long ago.
Oh
The
yeah, just think
reason
of it like sports foul. If the star doesn't like you, yep, your GM, you're gone, or head coach, you're gone. New one coming in. Same thing with Superman.
exactly,
He's the star.
exactly. So like for me, I'm gonna even put blame on the superior,
I'm
thinking
putting the blame
like,
on Superman because pick up the Superman phone and call this person his superior and say, "This is not working out. This dude is crazy." No,
see, and
like
that would
especially
be interesting
after
as
the
well.
episode, he should go in when he goes in when he's freed. He should go to Sam immediately and say, "Yeah, that guy's got to go. He's insane."
Here's a question, because I feel like nowadays a lot of people are kind of afraid to do it nowadays. But on a lot of fictional TV shows, you would have a president. Most recently, Supergirl, in the genre that we're speaking of, Supergirl had Linda Carter as a president.
Who was an
Do you
alien?
exactly? Do you think that we get Superman interacting with the president in this show eventually? Not saying this season, but eventually.
Ding! He goes to meet the president at the end of this season, spins around the chair, and who's going to be staring at him? John Cryer as Lex Luthor. I would love to see that. I'm not gonna lie.
that
But
would that would be actually really really good. Um, but the reason why I asked that is like, yes, I understand. Like for me, if I'm having an issue at work, I'm not going to go to the person causing the problem. And like if I'm having a problem with management, I'm not going to go to management and say I have a problem with you. I'm going to go to the people above them, which would be my HR department or their bosses. Well, here in the government, Lieutenant Anderson is clearly not listening. So the only people to go to would be the superiors or the superior of all superiors, commander in chief, the president of the United States. So
But like I
that's why I
said,
bring it up.
they gotta be informed. Whether it be somebody that's working under Anderson, lets people know. Like that girl after she had that conversation with Anderson, and he opened up the gigantic briefcase full of XK. She'd have been like, Yeah, I should probably call somebody when he leaves and let people know that he's gone crazy. Like I can just say like I was scared for my life, and he might have taken a hit of inhaler and killed me. So I just let him go with the stuff. But maybe I should call somebody and let him know like, hey, this guy's gone off the deep end. Or
Yeah.
Like I said, Superman calling after this is over, or Superman getting General Lane to call. Any one of the other numerous times where this guy did not seem like he was on the up and up. Um, it's just like a litany of mistakes out, but I can also say like a lot of these people like Clark has a lot of other things on his plate because we have to talk about Jonathan as well. But before we do all that, I think we should take an ad break.
Yes, let's go ahead and jump into our first ad break of tonight. Of course, guys, we do not choose these ads. We don't choose how many times they repeat themselves, if they do. And we do not choose the volume. So please turn that volume down just a tad, and we will be right back. And we are back. So, talking about Jonathan,
Talking about
and
stupidity.
so.
You know what this reminded me of, honestly? It's the same vibes. What he did was the same vibes as somebody who has a girlfriend for 6 months and gets her tattooed on her shoulder, her name tattooed on your shoulder or on your forehead or anything. This is such a dumb decision by him. Oh, it makes him look so nice. No, this is terrible.
No,
I
well, let me reel you back real quick.
thank you.
I understand the concept of not ratting out a friend. Ratting out a girlfriend could be even more impactful than that. But here's the real deal. Your father is Superman, the Boy Scout of all Boy Scouts. Your mother is Lois Lane. So I'm sorry. When I hear the principal, assistant principal, whatever, saying everybody back away from your lockers, they just stood there. Are you an idiot? My big thing is you could have just walked to class. All you had to do, legit, just walk to class, you'd be fine. Because other people walked away and actually left the hallway. It's not like the principal said, freeze, nobody
Hey, you two,
move.
stop.
Exactly. They like that hallway was packed full of people and then within seconds dispersed. And then the police dog, the K9 unit, that's when they smelled the drugs, whatever. So, for one, that's your first mistake. Second mistake, with your parents being the people that they were, I would have looked at that woman and said, you're on your own. Good luck. I will see you on the flip side. And if they get caught, they get caught. If they don't, they don't. I'm sorry. Like,
Well, I just gotta say, Jonathan doesn't stand a chance when he goes out in the real world because if all a drug dealer has to do is say, "Oh, we're so poor that our house will get closed, we won't have any money if I don't sell drugs," he's going to be doing this for a lot of people then. Because, like I said, this is, and what you said before too about his parents. Not only about that, Clay, he's not telling them about this, like telling them who it is. Lois asked multiple times who it was, and he wouldn't say who he was
so
holding it for.
that's
And I think your father is Superman and your mother is the best journalist of all time, and you're thinking you're going to hide this from them? Good luck. Your dad's just going to fly around the city and wait and find people who are selling this shit and confront him. Just be Superman about it. You don't have to ask,
well,
like, did you sell this to Jonathan Cantor or anything? You can just get rid of all the drug there. Eh, the fact that he's just like, nope, not telling you anything. I'm just like, okay. I figured, I honestly thought that he was going to tell Lois because of their bond.
well,
That's how he was
yeah, and
eventually
that
going to
was
break
that
down.
was that was a big question that I had at the end of the last episode when we talked about this. I said it's one thing to attempt to lie to Superman, but do you think he could lie to his mother? Technically,
No,
technically, he hasn't lied.
he couldn't lie. Like he couldn't lie to her. He just said, "I can't tell you. I can't rat. I can't lie to you. I can't rat that person out." And he's going to get expelled. It looks like, which is that really worth it when you think about it for him? I'm sure.
I
I
think
feel
this
like I'm
is
the bearer of bad news, just like I was with my brother when he was talking about his high school sweetheart. Chances are you're not going to work out. It does happen sometimes, but if I'm a gambling guy, if I was going to place my wagers, I would have placed my wagers on that not happening. And 2 years ago, I was right. So don't want to treat my home. And it's even more double down when you're in high school, like Jordan is. So, I mean, yeah. And also, you just had a girlfriend from another town like last year. So, I mean, how quickly do you forget, get girlfriend brain, and do this? And also, who's the kind of girlfriend that asks her boyfriend to take them for her because she's going to lose everything? Not like he wouldn't lose everything.
for real. Like,
Yeah.
oh, my life is more important than yours. Can you like take this and take the fall? Like, that's a really shitty thinking
I
on
need to
the
say
girl's
something about
part.
her too, because we have not seen anything that's shown that she's a nice person. I've seen her be flirty. I've seen her be uh, like
And she
outgoing
was
and
she was
talkative,
really
but
sketchy at the end of last season, trying
and
to like
she sold drugs to the guy who he was competing with for a starting quarterback job,
see, and
just
that's
resulting in him having to take those drugs as well. And I don't think she's a good
see,
person at
that's
all. I think this is a vicious
see,
cycle that she's just playing.
because see, that's another thing. If she was your girlfriend, you would think, hey, you're gonna sell me the drugs to be the better person, right? No, 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 no. I'm gonna get the best of both markets, and y'all can compete with each other, and I'll win all the profit.
And
Like, no, I'm sorry.
after I hear that the other guy has gotten to the hospital for taking the stuff, I'm going to throw it away. No, I'm not. I'm just going to sell you more and give you the most of it that I got here, because I can't sell it to him anymore because he's in the hospital bed. So here, boyfriend, have it all. Don't think about what put this guy in the hospital bed. Here, have some more of my magic XK.
It's messed up.
It's
It's
very
messed up
shady,
for
and
sure.
the only thing I can say is that I honestly, I Jonathan's had a girlfriend before, so this is not like I could see this as this was his first girlfriend ever, but
Uh-huh.
it's not. So it's just a little. I guess he said he wants to be special, and I don't know, but I do love that Jordan's he hasn't taken it since Jordan basically looked like he was so like disappointed and disgusted with him, because I really enjoyed their bond. I love how they haven't like shouted and pushed each other about this or anything, or getting into any sort of like fight confrontation about it. It's just Jordan's more like, I'm disappointed. I don't even want to talk to you. I can't believe you even do this. And I really do enjoy that because it makes Jonathan like there's a point where he sits down in bed and cries, and it's actually a really good scene for him. I am like I've been there, like screwing up as a kid and thinking your parents absolutely like think you're crap. They don't
Yeah.
really. They're just trying to set a lesson for you that don't do it again. Never to that extent of selling drugs or taking to file for drugs.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was a good scene for him. I gotta give him props for that.
You know, and one thing that I felt needed a little bit more, but again, I understand they only have so many episodes, and I feel like we probably would have complained if they put like a whole episode to it. But there was a moment where Lois was talking to her father, and then immediately started talking to the kids. And at the end of the discussion, she was like, "So whatever is going on between you two, figure it out." There was no indication prior that she knew that there was anything going on with them. Now, the only thing that I could headcanon is mother's intuition, right?
That's kind of
Is
what I put in my head, Clay. Like they weren't speaking on on the drive home, and they normally don't stop back and forth talking about stuff. So that first
yeah,
thing's going to put into her head, like, but she's like, I don't know what's going on with you two, but not. And then it all comes to a head, obviously.
exactly. Yeah. So I would have liked a little bit more of that so that way it would have felt a little organic
I
other
have a
than
question for
me.
you.
Well, what?
Who's John Henry? I forget.
He has been just left off the wayside, man. Him and Natasha.
If he doesn't come back next episode, we riot.
I
If you put more of this Lana against that mayor stuff and not tell me about John Henry, who's been in the hospital for the last 3 episodes, kind of need to figure out what's going on here.
do you think it'll be a what was it? Fast and Furious 7 where The Rock was in the hospital for like was it 7 or 8 where The Rock was in the hospital like the entire time and then like when the final showdown happened. He like broke all of his cast by flexing and then just like went out on the freaking battlefield and shot people up with the giant turret. Is that what's going to happen with John Henry? That like he's completely forgotten about this entire season, and then when the like basically either the penultimate episode or the finale of the season comes around, he just all of a sudden gets the suit back up and running very last minute and starts fighting with everybody? Like, what's going on?
See, Clay, you could have like you didn't need to show me John Henry to further his story. What you could have done, you could have cut back on that line of nonsense, and you could have showed me Natalie in the barn. This is what she's doing. She's being by herself, repairing her dad's suit, so that this will never
Because that's
happen
another
again.
thing. That's another thing.
That's what they
I
alluded to, and then he
Natalie
went out in the suit,
Natalie
and then because
is Natalie is technically still a teenager,
yeah,
and her only parent is in the hospital. She is without technically supervision. Where's her story?
she's right. They've saddled her to her father like that instead of showing her father's injury affecting her. You could build her up to become a hero. You could build her up to become like to take over Steel. You
Yeah,
could,
like she
but
does
no,
in the comics.
you just got her put in the hospital, sat at the bed, and we don't even get to see her. And that's
I
what,
think
like I
that
said, you
is now that you've mentioned it, I
terrible
think that
decision,
it is
Clay.
a very terrible decision.
Like they're so good with the Superman aspect of it, you kind of forget some of the other things that they do wrong. Like I don't have any issues with Tyler Hoechlin and his Superman and his back and forth with his brother and him talking to his mother and what happened with Bizarro, him making the choice. We'll get into that in a little tiny bit. But that was all perfect. So it kind of makes me like I got to sit down like we do right here and start talking about the episode and realizing, wait, there could be like they should have went with Natalie improving that suit since her father's been. You could have
Well,
gave
not
me
only
one. You could have gave me
improving
one episode where she's not there, but you didn't have to do it for three.
well, not only improving the suit, but where's the emotional
Yes,
reaction
dealing with that
to
crap.
dealing with not only her father, but actually taking her father's word and thinking that this Superman would actually protect them.
And also, Clay, who would like? Can you tell me that that wouldn't be a great emotional scene if she's telling all this to Lois, who is her mother on another Earth, and she's struggling to talk to her about that, and like
Exactly.
extra emotion. So they really fumbled the John Henry Natalie
Again,
storyline.
there is still another 7 to 8 episodes to
Yes,
talk about, but the longer you wait to have that conversation, I mean, again, we barely remembered it, which is sad. But like, how many other fans are just completely oblivious to the idea that completely forgot about two very important characters
if
in
you're
this
going to
show?
bring in characters like that, you got to take care of them and like have them involved. You can't
Treat
just
them like actual co-hosts or
yeah.
co-stars of the show.
If you bring like you made the decision to essentially align John Henry and this Earth Superman, so we need to see some stuff after. Like if you're keeping him on, that's my problem too with some of these shows is they get too big. The cast branches out too much, and they don't know. They don't pay enough attention to some characters. That you get too big. I hope that doesn't happen like a la Arrow or Flash. Like you get too big and
Yeah.
you're like auxiliary characters, and then when you're rotating them out for other ones, it's just a mess. So like I said, I really want to see more about this, and I hope that they cover it next week.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, but let's go on to the basically the finale of this episode. Like you said before, Anderson is taking the XK inhalers. He pumps himself up with XK,
And
and
take
the
some
very
kryptonite
next
weapon with
thing,
yeah,
and
kryptonite
and
weapons. Yeah.
goes into 40 4377, right? Is
Division
the
Sam Lane created to
yeah,
stop Superman. They're
yeah,
completely justified. Sorry, I got to remember that because Lois came with all that heat, and I'm just like, you could
yeah.
be, you guys. You weren't sure if he was controlling himself like a couple episodes ago when he was seeing the visions of Bizarro. So what are we doing here? Oh, sorry, Dad, you had something to just neutralize, not kill.
Yeah.
Neutralize is what he said.
And so we just see Anderson. Well, it was, I believe, Lara Sorel who said, Kal-El, there is something approaching. And see Clark use his super hearing. You hear the sonic boom, and he's like, oh, it's a missile. And then boom, it wasn't a missile. It was, in fact, Lieutenant Anderson completely souped up. And he fights all three of the Kryptonians. He uh, severely injures is what's his
Well,
name?
Talro jumps in front of Superman to take
The
kryptonite
kryptonite
bullets.
bullet, and he is pierced in major arteries with kryptonite. Superman gets a little bit of like kryptonite gas in him, and so he's like coughing a whole lot. Uh, and then Bizarro actually starts to fight Lieutenant Anderson, and Lieutenant Anderson doesn't know the biology
Gotta
of
say one thing too, though. Superman's mother, Laura, looking at Bizarro and saying, "Save my sons," and then letting him out. I just a little tiny touch, but I love that. Just the way
yeah.
they played that off, it was really nice.
It was really nice. One of the big things that we did get from Bizarro as far as the information, though, we kind of just glossed over this. Looks like Talro is married in his universe,
Yeah.
and Talro just won't let it go. Who am I married to? Like, is she pretty? What does she look like? Who is she? Things like that. And when the fighting gets going, Lieutenant Anderson and Bizarro fight outside of the fortress. Again, like I said, Anderson doesn't know the biology of Bizarro, ends up shooting Bizarro with a kryptonite bullet, syringe type thing. And we all know kryptonite actually helps Bizarro, unlike the sunlight. Uh, and unlike like kryptonite actually hurting him, he takes the bullet and actually presses it more into him. Anderson is freaked out by this, you know, gets a small energy boost. They all fight a little bit more. But ultimately, while this is going down, Superman is having to use very precise heat vision blasts to disintegrate kryptonite within Talro's body.
Really
While that
enjoyed
is
that.
while that is going on, he actually needs to like basically throw Talro into the sun. Not really, but essentially get him as close as possible. And while this is going on, Anderson actually kills.
Well, Superman blatantly ignores that Bizarro needs help to save his brother. Let's not
Yes.
try it. He makes a choice there. He lets Bizarro die.
Yeah. And he dies.
Yeah,
Anderson
which is
gets
very
away.
startling.
So, do you think Bizarro's dead?
Oh yeah, although with the biology being different, um, everything being opposite, he might not be dead. Like we could
Well,
see him
it's
next episode turn him like uncrack his neck and get up and go on. I'm not sure.
because we didn't see like a funeral scene.
No,
We
yeah,
only
none of that.
saw we only saw his quote unquote dead body just lying on the ground, and Superman just like kind of looking over it.
And before listeners, before you think like church and mass, like Clay's talking about like Superman even just like burying him and putting a rock grave there and just
Yes, like
honoring him for a
any
second. Yeah.
kind any kind of like burning of the
Yeah.
body, like nothing that ceremonially says this person is dead, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there may be maybe a small percentage of a chance that, they're probably trying to like throw one out at us, and, they reveal it next episode. But if this is true, then we have, and just like General Lane says, an Anderson that is now AWOL. He is MIA. He is mixing from action. He is now being considered a bad individual. So now we have that on top of uh, the crazy lady that is dealing with the
Allie Alston.
Bizarro alley, uh, dealing with the Bizarro dimension. So where do we go from here?
Well, Anderson gives the amulet to Allie, and she says like this is the key to conquering both worlds. So I assume we're going to get at some point we're going to get a episode of her character in that other world,
Yeah.
like through that point of view, which would be pretty cool to see if we just see like other people, like random passerbys, like Lois and that, and just people of Smallville. So I'd be interested in see that. I love that we called it, but I did like that we lose a villain in Bizarro that wasn't really that much of a villain, and now we're on our path of these are our two villains for the season. This is the sub big bad in Anderson and the big bad in Ali Alston. I'm really interested to see how. I think there's potential for Anderson to stab Ali Alston in the back and take use the full power of the amulet when he figures it out. So
Uh-huh.
I'm interested to see if that's going to go that route. And I want to know what the trip is like with the amulet to the other side. So I hope we get some showing of that next episode. And like I said, I need to see something by John Henry. Need to. Maybe the amulet can help him or something. I'm throwing out ideas here for just get John Henry back involved because I want to see him.
Well, it is a very like they dropped the ball with that character, and you can throw the idea of, oh, they're filming during COVID, blah 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 blah. Then like, I'm sorry, like
We get
they're
all our other
just as
stuff.
they're just you've made them just as important by throwing them out there as the like freaking cliffhanger of last season, and to just throw them away like you have,
Clay,
like you can't do
they
that.
brought them into their home, let them live with them, integrated their daughter with the boys. Like we
There hasn't
started to
even
see them
been
all
like
the time.
throwaway lines.
They
Like
haven't even said
that's
how the last two episodes. They haven't even asked how's Natalie doing or how's John doing. Nobody's asked that. We're just off on our own. XK drugs. That's essentially what it is. So I mean, I'm just a little disappointed in that. I enjoy. There's so much of this enjoy that, like you said, we have to have a discussion for me to remember that. Like the Superman stuff on this is just gold. So
yeah.
I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm never watching this again. But it's a little frustrating when you introduce characters, maybe like them, and then have something drastic happen to them, and then we not hear anything for 3 episodes. So that's the mistake. You got to be able to criticize these shows when they make mistakes, especially see like this is not a CW show as far as I'm concerned in terms of quality. So you're going to make mistakes. I'm going to criticize, and that's one. Whereas like just some storylines I enjoy, and I think that you could take some of what you're doing with Lana, put that towards the end of the season, and focus more on John Henry and Natalie. That's just my opinion. I'm sure there's people out there that love the Lana storyline, and if there are, I'm glad for you guys. More power to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with everything that you just said. But with that, guys, that is going to be it for this episode. Thank you so much for staying this long. Of course, we are now in the triple digits here,
The march to 200,
101.
Clay. The march
Yes,
to 200 is
the
on.
march to 200. Now, I will say, I kind of like we can't do double episodes every single week
Oh
because
God, no, God, no! Once
because
Superman and Lois ends, we're gonna be like, kick our feet up, relax, be like,
exactly.
thank God.
So again, guys, go listen to our last episode. We talked about the huge slate change. The next big episode that we're really anticipating is going to be in October, which is Black Adam. So I guess that is our next real big milestone waiting. But yeah, 200 is only what, a year away, 2
Almost
years
it.
away.
I'm not even gonna say it. I almost said a certain
Well,
show.
well,
I'm
well,
not even gonna say it. Let's just power through as a joke. I'm not even gonna mention it.
probably
Can't.
something with Marvel Alliance, but it's
No,
fine.
Titans, Clay. I said just
Jesus,
Titans.
no,
Titans will be
no.
out by then.
Is this supposed to be out this year? Or are they
Yeah, it's
still like,
filming. They're already started filming. I remember seeing something like last week, a
if
first week of
it's
filming done.
if it's filming, then it's not going to be done until next year. It's not going to come out this year. No way. There's no way.
I hope you're
Look,
right.
I hope
We
I'm
could have a
right too.
nice year without Titans. Like we could be okay with that.
I,
Take a little
I'm
sabbatical.
crossing my
Figure it
fingers
out.
here.
But we got
But
this great show, so
yes, of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. Check out the bio where you can find all the links to all the shows that I host, that including DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Ranger Alliance, and of course, Star Wars Alliance. Heinz?
you can find me on Twitter at Travis_156. You can drop me a line. We can chat about DC anytime. I also host superhero discussions on the network as well. Like I said before, you get an episode on that by the weekend. Apologies again, but real life got in the way.
All right. Well, with that, guys, we will see you guys next week. See you later.
Later, everyone.